I haven't done a ton of interacting with MCP. I was curious, like, if you could sort of help me understand it a little bit because I've used it in the context of burp, right? Like, you can expose the MCP port from burp, and you can have an agent like review data from that. I haven't used it too deeply, but is the problem here that MCP gives access to the agent that then is doing things based on the data that's coming through that JSON pipeline?
Yeah, essentially, at least what I've been kind of digging into is looking at exposed SSE and MCP endpoints across different public web-facing MCP servers. And then essentially there's different resources like the skills or tools that you can essentially list. And if it's an unauthenticated endpoint, it'll spit it back at you. And it uses these things called MCP session IDs. The legacy version, SSE, it's just called a session ID. And that's how it keeps track of basically the conversation that you're having with it. So in some of these, what we found is while some endpoints require authentication, if you don't have authentication on another endpoint, you might still be able to get a valid session ID and then bypass off on another endpoint.
So you're like just injecting new commands into an existing context window. You're like, take whatever you're doing right now and here's some new stuff to do.
Yeah, it's kind of like that, but it really requires people to understand what they are enabling these MCP servers to access, but it's also requiring them to understand the full scope of exactly like what you want people to have. It's almost like role-based access control, but for AI agents. Like think of it that way. And I don't think people are approaching it that way just yet. But I'm sure once they kind of get their hands on MCP and really start to understand the technology, that's kind of where we'll probably start seeing things shift towards.